Hi guys, thank you for tuning in to my next video where I mentioned in my previous introductory video for my part-time business called Lapto Refurbz that I will sort of start bringing out a series of videos for documentation purposes, really, not really DIY, just sort of to show you what I'm busy dealing with when it comes to any issues that client PCs might experience, any scenario where they might find themselves in this specific scenario. I have a client PC here that the laptop doesn't want to turn on. So obviously that alone can have many different reasons why it will not turn on. In this case, I will now start going into deep diagnostics to try and determine what the actual problem is. And you will see in this video sort of how I will go about in opening up the laptop up. Obviously, if I deem necessary for me to open it up, then I will do so. But it's at a state where, you know, you can only do so much visually and physically until a certain stage where you'll have to open up the laptop. And obviously when it comes to a laptop, it becomes quite scary because, I mean, you've got a lot of components that you're dealing with. It's quite crammed. Every laptop is different and you really just don't know what you're dealing with. But obviously in most laptops, especially modern laptops, they're quite standardized. You know, not really that much though, but standardized to the point where the way that the clips and the certain ways that you open it up, sometimes laptops can be pretty straightforward. Now and again you'll get a laptop where you have to open it up in such a way where you'll have to force entry, potentially damaging a clip or two or something, which you don't want to do, which is why I highly recommend you leaving it up to a professional to do this. I myself take pretty much every single precaution necessary to open up these components where, you know, they are very delicate and you can damage something very easily. But because, like I say, you know, I've had extensive IT training in this in terms of laptops and laptop maintenance, it's best sort of to just, you know, rely on a person that knows what they are doing. So what I'm going to show you really is just how we'll go about opening it up. Best practices really require me to have the laptop on an anti-static mat. Unfortunately, I do not have one, but I've sort of bring about a lot of precautions to make sure that, especially with electrical components, you do get electrostatic discharge now and again, especially when you're working with fluorescent lighting or anything that's sort of contributing to the ESD factor. But you know, I am sort of grounded and I don't have anything near me that really can be a potential threat to the actual components that I'm working with. So it's best to just stay safe with what you are doing, the way you are handling the actual device, and yeah, have a clear sort of working environment as you do it. So that's what I'm trying to do. But what I'm trying to say is that this is not a DIY video. This is just me showing you the circumstances that I'm dealing with so that you know your device is in capable hands when you entrust it to me, and you know that I will sort of work to the point extensively trying to resolve the issue and yeah, get down to the bottom of some PC tech issues. So stay tuned. So what I've determined really with this laptop is I cannot actually continue the diagnostic process. I haven't even really touched the software level yet, for a very unfortunate reason, and that's my worst fears that has been realized at this point, and that's that the motherboard has gone bad. I've determined various factors as to why that is. Well, not why really, because I can only work on speculatory feedback from the client as to the way that they've been handling the laptop. But there's various factors that contributes to the fact that I can deem the motherboard being bad. There's no way for me to fully and extensively test it, but I can only test with what I have to work. Considering that a motherboard is, designed on such a microscopic level, there's no really good way of saying, of what the actual problem will be with it. There's different reasons why a motherboard will go bad. Power surges, overheating, which is probably the likely cause for this specific scenario, because the client did say that their children would sort of, go to bed with a laptop and then have it sit on the bed. Air vents are closed. There's no air circulation. Components such as the CPU, which is the very first and sort of the only component really that overheats quite extensively if you don't have good cooling air circulating to it, can overheat quite quickly, and it can damage over time. And it will not really happen that instantly, but over time it will sort of degrade, and it will sort of render it sort of in-depth microscopic level. It will sort of blow a transistor or something like that. But you can have other components on the motherboard that will go bad as well due to causes of overheating. And then you have different other scenarios as well. It could have been a power surge where, in these days we have load shedding happening quite a lot. If you don't have decent surge protection in your house, such as a multi-plug with surge protection that could protect your components if the electricity does go on, you can have enormous power surges going through these delicate components, which could fry a circuit board. If you can imagine. So in this case, the reason why I determined it's the motherboard is because the laptop charger does have power going to it. It's a 20-volt charger. I've tested it with a multimeter, and at the end of the day, there's nothing really I can do much further here. I've actually tested the laptop, the power up until the power jack of the motherboard. This is the motherboard, as you can see over there. So I just want to unblur it there for you guys. And you can actually see this is the motherboard. The power jack sits right over there, and I have so I just want to unfocus this thing a little bit to my side. Sorry I'm trying to keep this video as good quality as I can with what I have to work with, but the power jack does get some power to it. Really, I've tested it as well. All the connectors that connects to the motherboard, that are soldered to the motherboard, they are receiving the expected and required 20-volt power that the charger is supposed to give it. It's just that there's also an LED light, actually two LED lights on the specific motherboard right next to each other here. None of them are lighting up. In fact, if I use my magnifying glass and I can sort of zoom in onto both of those LED lights, one sort of looks not really, it just looks different than the other. So it looks almost like it's blown really. It's discolored, it's sort of lost its original sort of LED layer, as you wish, and you can clearly see with the magnifying glass that something must have gone wrong on this motherboard. Now from here on out, the first component that's supposed to be powered is the CPU. From there onwards, the CPU will hand off to the BIOS, or the UEFI, which is the firmware program responsible for sort of checking and doing a post on all which is a power on self test, to all the rest of the components, your main components, which is obviously the CPU is first, your RAM, hard drive, to try and see if there's a bootable operating system on it, and from there it will power the rest of the components, which it doesn't do. It's just completely dead. So this is sort of the ultimate, I would say, or if not the worst case scenario for the specific client, and that's pretty much it, what I can do. I cannot continue my diagnostics process further because there's quite a lot that I should have still have done, which is if I could have get this thing up and running, I would have then gone and further test other hardware, test the software integrity, the operating system integrity, to check that on a system level everything is correct, what have you. So there's nothing really I can do much here. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to order this client a new motherboard, which they've agreed upon for me to do. But the only condition they've sort of given to me is that they can only work on a budget. So if it's going to be turning out that it's going to have to pay more for the motherboard than what she's budgeted and what she can afford at this stage, she said she's rather just going to keep her money and sort of save up and invest on a new laptop, which is unfortunate because this is quite a new laptop. I mean, the motherboard itself has been manufactured February 2018, which is not that long ago. And I can actually have a look at just the RAM module, which is a DDR4 2666 megahertz clock speed piece of RAM stick. So I mean, that alone, it's quite a recent piece of component, you know. So component wise, you have parts that have been manufactured quite recently, and it's really unorthodox for a motherboard to have packed up so early in its lifespan. But that is a situation that can happen, and you do have circumstances that it does happen for various factors, as I've just mentioned, and there's nothing you can do about it other than to just, like I say, when you do buy a device like this, it's the way you handle it. It's just the way that you sort of take care of it, really. Nothing, and no offense to the client, she knows me and I know her personally. It's just that unfortunately you do have kids, and when you sort of tend to leave that responsibility in their hands, you take the responsibility out of your hands to actually take care of it as the best you should. But that's just, like I say, circumstantially, really, there's nothing you can do about a component that's backing up. So I'm going to have to order this client a new motherboard, and as soon as I have it, I can just replace it and do further testing on this laptop to get it up and running. So thank you very much for tuning in, and I just sort of really wanted to give you this insight, sort of scope of what it is that I'm busy dealing with when these kind of things. This is really the worst case scenario really for me when it comes to testing and doing diagnostics on a laptop, especially when I need to clean it or refurbish it and check that everything is still in a working condition. And I really don't like giving bad news to clients, but you know, when you work one client after the other, you pick up issues like that. That's just the unfortunate scenario of having to prepare yourself to explain it to them. Not that I have a problem with it, it's just that you feel bad at the end of the day because you don't like giving them bad news. They are expecting to hear good news, and they're expecting to hear that the device can have some more life in them for a few years. So like I say, this is just one of those instances where you can't really do anything about it. So once again, thank you very much for tuning in. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. Please share this with your family and your friends. Once again, just have a look at my website, laptorefurbz.wixsite.com/home. You can search it on Google, or you can just type it into your browser. You can have a look at my Facebook page called Lapto Refurbz, and please subscribe, like, and share my video, and also feel free to comment also down in the comment section if you do feel that you have a question or two about something. And you can email me laptorefurbz@gmail.com for any business inquiries if you need anything for me to have a look at, and I can come make a turn at your house. We can meet up somewhere, it doesn't matter, and I can have a look at your devices. Thank you so much. Have a great evening and a day, or whatever. Sorry, that's whenever you face a day or two, that's just up to you. But yeah, take care. Thank you so much. Evening, day. I just had a bit of a time freak out in my head right now. Sorry. Hope you guys enjoy your day, your evening, whatever time zone you are facing. Thank you so much for tuning in. Bye bye.